Live on a beautiful, sunny and warm Thursday afternoon. It is opening day in the NFL. Still 3 days till the Browns play their first game. Welcome, one and all, to the Bullpen. I am your host, Adam the Bull, and we got a lot to get to on a big Thursday live show. If you're listening, send it a message. If you're watching or listening, post a message in the YouTube chat. I will read your comments. I will answer your questions in just a little bit. I want to hear from you on this Thursday afternoon. But first, I want to talk to you about Bet Rivers real quick because our sports book is kicking butt right now. You can, there's so many fun things you could do there. Futures bets. You could bet on the spreads, of course, of the Week 1 NFL games, Week 2 in college football. I'll have a baseball parlay tomorrow. I'll give you all my predictions versus the spread, including the Browns game tomorrow. So a lot on the way. And players right now at Bet Rivers can play same-game parlays on college football and NFL games to earn squares. Our exclusive Bet Rivers Squares game offers additional chances at profit boosts, bonus bets, and many $10,000 jackpots. Bet $10 in same-game parlays. Think about that for a minute. Bet $10, potentially win $10,000 on any game with the Squares icon to earn a square. All right, Chiefs-Ravens tonight. I'll give you a pick on that game coming up in a little bit. And then, of course, we've got the big game, Browns and Cowboys, Sunday at 4:25. The line, of course, has been 2.5 for, about a week at this point. It remains 2.5. The Browns are minus 143 on the win line. The over-under, I think, went down. I think it was 41.5 and it went to 41. Or am I making that up? I don't know. But it's 41 right now. That is the line there. I like the under, but it's close. I think the final scores should be pretty close to I'd probably actually stay away from the over-under on that one because I think it's going to be right around that number. But so we'll do a bunch of picks, and like I said, send your messages into the YouTube chat. Send your questions or comments. I'll answer them / read them in just a little bit. Question I put as the headline for the podcast today is the Browns offense ready? Now, you never know heading into a season who's ready, who's not, whether it's a team or individual players. For whatever reason, a team's chemistry is off, a team's dealing with injuries or rust, which could be a case with the Browns, or new personnel or new coaching, which could be the case with the Browns offensive group. For an individual player, it could be dealing with an injury. It could be a contract holdout in a situation like Jamar Chase with Cincinnati. It could be a guy has some personal problems, something we would probably not know anything about. You never know. Sometimes we forget, when you're doing this, it's I'm behind a computer or in front of a computer. You're listening wherever you're listening or watching wherever you're watching. And whether I'm here or used to be in the radio studio or in a TV studio, you're not interacting with the players that often. The beat reporters certainly do, but the rest of us in the media and you as fans, we don't interact with players very often, and if at all. And so sometimes you forget that, oh, yeah, these guys may have more money than the average person in a lot of cases. It doesn't mean they don't have the same problems that the rest of us have. Obviously, money solves some problems, but certainly most problems that people have in their lives, or many problems that they have in their lives, don't have anything to do with money, whether it's a mental health issue or something with a spouse or a child or a loved one dealing with something, a family member, a friend. And you don't know. We all go through some stuff, right? We've all been through some stuff, even if we don't admit it. And players do too. And in the end, whether somebody makes $10 million or $100, nobody's immune to problems. I remember, and I'll share with you, and because I'm not afraid to say that I go to therapy. I remember that I've gone to the same therapist in Cleveland since I've lived in Cleveland for a long time. I've lived here for 3 years. 3 years. I've lived here for 13 years, and I remember one of the first times I went for therapy, and I remember saying to my therapist, I'm very lucky. I got a great wife. I've got a great supportive family, um, or a supportive mother. My father was not support. Well, I shouldn't say he wasn't supportive. We had a falling out, but that's a whole other story. But anyway, overall, I'm very lucky. My mother, my wife. I'm I'm relatively healthy, despite my weight. Wasn't quite as bad then. And I was like, I've got a job that I love. I talk sports for a living, something most guys and many women would love to trade places with me. I said, what do I have to be sad about or depressed about? And my therapist, the first time I ever talked to her, said something to me then that I've always taken with me, that I've always remembered. I wasn't expecting to go into a therapy hour here, and I'll move on in a minute, but I just think it's important to know that players are humans too. And she said to me, there's always somebody that's got it better than you. There's always somebody that's got it worse than you. Just because there's somebody that's got more problems in their life or may not have a family or whatever, maybe broke, maybe on the street, it doesn't mean your problems are not legit just because there's somebody that's got it worse. Because then only one person on the planet could complain if it was the one person that had it worse than everybody else. So, and going to therapy is not complaining, it's getting help. It actually takes a lot of guts, I think, to go to therapy, especially for men, because there's a stigma attached to it to some degree, and especially for professional athletes, soldiers, those in the police and the fire department. There has been a stigma attached to asking for help for mental health. Oh, you're soft. That's stupid. It takes a strong man to go and ask for help. And I went down a longer road than I expected with this, but I say this to remind us all that whether it's talking about a player, and I've been harsh at times, sometimes, and I never plan to, but sometimes, things I say cross over to where that's a little too personal, I shouldn't say that, or when you call a guy a scrub, whatever, you get caught up in the moment, and we all do it. But I think as often as we can, we have to remember that we're talking about human beings. And even when we're talking to each other, we're talking about human beings. Things have become so anonymous between Twitter and Facebook and whatever other social media you may use. I think it's important when we're arguing about sports or we're arguing about politics or whatever the hell we're arguing about to remember that the person you're arguing with is a human being with a family, with feelings too, with a life, and you got to keep things in perspective. So that I did not expect to go on that diatribe there. But there you go. My initial point was to say that there's always things that are unpredictable in sports. Sometimes things look so obvious. You look at the biggest point spread this week, right? It's the Bengals, who are they were a 9-point favorite. I think it's 8.5. Oh, it's actually down to 8. So the Bengals are an 8-point favorite over the Patriots. So obviously people have been betting on the Patriots because the line's gone down. I think it was maybe as high as 10. When the lines were first posted, a month ago, whatever it was. Certainly was at least 9.5. It was recently down to 9 and then 8.5, and now it's down to 8 at Bet Rivers. The Bengals are minus 420 on the money line. And so even with an 8-point spread, especially we talked about the unknowns and all the unpredictableness of sports, but a couple other things. First of all, it's week 1. Even more than any other week, there's a lot of stuff, we have perceptions of teams going into the season, and you don't know, those are opinions. We don't know if they're actually true. But in the Bengals-Patriots thing specifically, the Bengals have not played well in week 1. Since Joe Burrow's been there, I want to say they're 1-7 the first 2 weeks of the year. Now, he's dealt with some injuries, but still, it is what it is. I don't want to hear excuses. They're 1-7. Also, Jamar Chase has been a holdout. He's practicing this week. I don't know if he's going to play. Joe Burrow said that he's ready to go. I don't know if he's going to play or not. Even if he does, is he really ready to go? I'm not sure. And maybe the Patriots, who we all think are going to suck, maybe they're not going to suck. Maybe they're going to be an adequate team. I'm not even saying they're going to be good. Maybe they're just going to be average. They're not going to be terrible, and the Bengals are going to be sloppy, and Burrow's going to turn over the ball. Maybe his wrist doesn't feel quite right. I don't know what's going to happen. Ultimately, we're all making our predictions, I think, based on, the best of our knowledge and what is most likely to occur. But There's a lot of wacky things that can happen, and that's the game that should, on paper, is the most one-sided. Most of the games on the docket this week are very small point spreads. Ravens-Chiefs tonight, for example, the first game of the year. The Chiefs are a 2.5-point favorite. That's it. It's at home. Ravens are really good. They're better in the regular season, obviously. I like the Chiefs tonight, and I'll tell you right now, I'm picking the Chiefs to win this game. I think they take care of business at home. Would it surprise me if the Ravens found a way to win? No, of course not. How could it? But I like the Chiefs at home tonight and handing the Ravens a season-opening loss. Tomorrow night, obviously, in Brazil, you got the Packers and the Eagles. Eagles are a 2-point favorite in that one. This one, even more than other games, is hard to predict because these guys have all traveled to Brazil. There's some anxiety from players and coaches about what are the conditions there. Are they going to be safe in Brazil? So that's a whole nother layer and wacky situation. The Eagles are the home team technically, but there's really going to be no home field advantage, I would assume, in Brazil. I don't know what the crowd's going to be like in terms of rooting interest. So anyway, it's something to keep an eye on. But a lot of the spreads are low. Ravens, Chiefs, Packers, Eagles, Bears, Titans, Vikings, Giants, Panthers, Saints, Steelers, Falcons, Texans, Colts, Jags, Dolphins, Raiders, Chargers, Commanders, Buccaneers, Cowboys, Browns, Rams, Lions, Bills, Dolphins. I'm sorry, that's next week. My bad. Start with Rams, Lions is the last legit one. All of those games, which is I think 12 of the 13 to 16 games this week, are spreads of 4 points or less, and the Monday Nighter Jets Niners is only 4.5. So if I go, the only spreads more than 4.5 are the Seahawks by 6 over the Broncos at home, the Bengals by 8 over the Patriots at home, and the Bills by 6.5 over the Cardinals at home. So 13 of the 16 are 4.5 or less. Part of that is the unpredictability of Week 1, and then just in general, there's a good balance in the league, especially in the AFC. Because the only really bad teams in the AFC that'll be pretty bad would be the Titans, the Patriots, and the Broncos, maybe the Raiders. Everybody else should be very competitive. As for the Browns specifically, the question I had is the Browns offense ready to go? I'm not sure what the answer is. There's nothing I can point to that would prove that they're ready to go. Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper, most of the offensive linemen, David Njoku, these guys have barely touched the field. Watson's coming off injury. We're not sure about the left tackle situation, although it appears it's going to be Jack Conklin. Jed Wills said he is not starting. It was weird because Kevin Stefanski said he might play, and then Jed Wills a couple hours later said, no, I'm not starting. I guess it's possible he'll come off the bench and be active, but it does sound like Jack Conklin is going to be the starting left tackle. Obviously, Stefanski was being cagey from a game plan standpoint, and Jedrick Wills, for whatever reason, spilled the beans on that. I'm not sure what happened. It is a positive sign that Jedrick Wills is practicing now after being, off the radar for the entire offseason. But the fact that he's practicing now means he's probably not too far away from playing. But I would think Jack Conklin's going to start at left tackle Week 1. And it'll be interesting to see what happens if he plays well. Is there a chance they stick with him there? Is there a chance they move him to right tackle and DeJuan Jones is on the bench? I would think that's not the case, but things can change in a hurry. So I am concerned that the offense is not ready to go. Dallas has a real good defense. Obviously, they'll be without Deron Bland, their number 2 corner, who had a great rookie season. We've talked with a number of Cowboys beat members, I think 3 different Cowboys beat reporters on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and all 3 were pretty concerned about the injury to Bland. They're replacing him with a rookie who's a 5th rounder. Who knows what to expect, but certainly with Micah Parsons leading the way, the Cowboys have a good pass rush, and they still have a pretty good secondary. I think both offenses, the Browns' defense is better than the Cowboys' defense on paper. The Cowboys' offense is better than the Browns' offense on paper. But I do think there's an advantage here to both defenses because Dallas is dealing, even though they're a more veteran offense and they have a quarterback that's been very good, Dallas is dealing with 2 rookie offensive linemen, and if I'm the Cowboys' O-line coach or their offensive coordinator, I'm having nightmares about a rookie trying to stop Myles Garrett. Now, the rookie may do a great job. I don't know, and they're going to give him help, certainly. But I'd be having nightmares heading into the game about that. But as for the Browns offense specifically, I think Deshaun Watson is going to want to get rid of the ball quickly because they've got obviously an issue at left tackle potentially with Jack Conklin's lack of experience at left tackle, not lack of experience in the NFL. It's certainly going to be a concern that they're going to want to and to counteract it, they're going to want to get rid of the ball quickly. I think they're going to try to, I do think this year they're going to be more of a passing team, which they have not been. And I think they want to open it up and have the four wides and go with Deshaun Watson. I think, though, for the first week, with Watson coming off injury, with his lack of the reps being down, the no preseason, I do think we'll see them be a little more conservative the first week and then open it up week by week as it goes along. So I am concerned that the offense is ready to go for week one. But I have some of those same concerns for Dallas. Dak Prescott, again, to be fair, he's had much more success over the last couple of years than Deshaun Watson. He hasn't missed the time Deshaun Watson has. He's played at a much higher level than Deshaun Watson the last few years, but he was dealing with a little bit of an injury in the offseason, and he didn't play in the preseason at all. So there could be some rust, and certainly with the Browns' ability to get to the quarterback, which is top-notch. And as I mentioned, the rookie offensive lineman, it could be an issue for the Cowboys as well. All right. I'm going to get to you. I see a bunch of people who sent messages in the YouTube chat. I'm going to get to that in a second. Let me get a water break. Okay. Let's see what you got to say or ask. Here we go. Jay says, what's up, Bull? Go Browns. I forgot it's opening day. It's funny. I said earlier today, all of a sudden it hit me because somebody mentioned the Chiefs. G. Bush mentioned the Chiefs to me. And I was like, wow, I forgot for a second that it's opening night in the NFL, that the Chiefs are playing the Ravens tonight. It's regular season, that I got to get my lineup set for my 6 fantasy football leagues. 6 season-long fantasy football leagues. I think I've done 5 for a while. I went to 6 this year. I think I finally passed the point of too many. I think 6 is probably too many. I feel like 5, I just went over the top with going with 6. But I got 2 dynasty leagues, a keeper league, and 3 redraft leagues. But I do one with a bunch of guys, other dads I know in Rocky River. I do one with the guys at UCSS. And then the others are, guys I've been, at least some of them in each league are guys I've been playing fantasy sports and guys I've known since I'm a kid. And we're all obsessed with it and crazy. And we just added another dynasty league this year. So it's a little nuts. I got, in terms of Browns, I did not get Deshaun Watson in any of my 6 leagues. And all 6 of my fantasy leagues are 2 quarterbacks. In one of the 6, I almost got him. In one of my 6 leagues, we have an auction, and you're bidding on guys. And I played for the championship last year, so I went all in, and my team was it's a keeper league, was not that very strong, not strong heading into the auction, and I had to spread out my money. And so I had to take a second quarterback, in the lower tier of fantasy. And right now that's where Deshaun Watson was, and I was bidding on him, but the price got too high, actually. So if the guys in my league who bid on him are right, then that's a positive. I did not get Amari Cooper in any league. He just kept falling in a spot where I wasn't going to take him. Jerry Jeudy I didn't get. I've got Nick Chubb in 2 leagues. Obviously, he's not playing right now. I've got the Browns defense in 1 league. I've got Jerome Ford in 1 league. That's it. I don't think I have David Njoku in any league. Certainly no other receivers besides Jeudy and Amari Cooper. I mean, some of these deep dynasty leagues, I think in one of them I have Cedric Tillman, actually, in a deep dynasty league. I can't imagine he's ever going to play for me this year, but you never know. Crazy things have happened. Mustafa Salim. Hey, Bull, hope you're having a good week. It's football week. Go Texans. That's right. Mustafa's a Texans guy. Hey, listen, the Texans are really good. I think they're really good. The question is, with the Texans, on paper, their roster looks so good. The question is, a lot of times when guys have big rookie seasons, there's a little step back year 2, and then we find out how legit they are in year 3. I do not think C.J. Stroud, who to me was the best rookie quarterback I've ever seen in my life, I don't think he's going to take a step back. I think he's going to be real good. Obviously, their receiving core is probably the best in football. Joe Mixon's fine. Tight end situation solid. If their defense is good, I mean, I think they're a Super Bowl contender. Obviously, I'm not going to lie there, folks, because you know how I am. I keep it real. That was just an infamous sneeze and fart. And some people may be offended by me saying fart, but I pulled a sneeze and fart. And, when you sneeze and fart, it's always a little scary for a second. You know what I mean? I won't go into details on that because I don't need to freak you all out. Anyway, I lost my train of thought from my sneeze and fart. Where the hell was I? Oh, the Texans, right. So I think the Texans are a legit Super Bowl contender. And if C.J. Stroud backs up what he did last year, then he's a clear top 5 quarterback. I mean, some people probably have him there already. But to legitimately lock into that elite tier, you got to do it twice, at least, for me. Red Right 88, live. Go Browns. Go Browns, Red Right. Ricky May, what's the health issue the Browns are going to worry about the most? Deshaun Watson or the offensive line? Definitely Deshaun Watson. Listen, Deshaun Watson is the difference between the Browns having a mess season, a good season, or a great season. I've said this quite often. The Browns and Jets, to me, are the 2 hardest teams to predict because they're 2 teams that have great talent and a hard-to-predict quarterback situation. Now, you never know. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, we saw last year, C.J. Stroud, Josh Allen, any of these guys can get hurt. But if those quarterbacks are healthy, Lamar Jackson, I know what to expect from them if they're healthy. With Deshaun Watson, I don't know what to expect. And you could say that's not fair. I can tell you, look at the last 3 years. I don't know what to expect. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers has never played poorly, but he's 40. And even though he's not injured, he's coming off a serious injury, and he's 40. And outside of Tom Brady, not a lot of guys have played well at quarterback at 40. And I know Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great, but 2 years ago in Green Bay, he was already in decline. So I don't know what he is. Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers, to me, are the 2 hardest quarterbacks to predict what they're going to do. And that's why they're the 2 hardest teams. But it's simple. If Deshaun Watson plays like he did in Houston or close to it, the Browns are a Super Bowl contender. If Deshaun Watson is solid, good, but not great, the Browns are a long-shot Super Bowl contender and a legit playoff contender. If he's, middling, they're a playoff contender, not a Super Bowl contender. And if he stinks, they're a long-shot playoff contender. I don't think there's any other teams besides if you say an injury specifically to their quarterback, besides the Browns and the Jets, that you could say that about. Their ceiling is winning it all. I think the Browns are more likely to win a Super Bowl than the Packers, even though Rodgers is much more accomplished. I think it's more likely that Deshaun Watson plays at an elite level than Aaron Rodgers, even though Rodgers has done it more recently. That's just my feeling on it. But definitely, Deshaun's health is a bigger concern than the offensive line. Jay says, was Joe injured to start last year? I don't remember. I know there was bad weather, but don't remember his health. Yes, he missed the entire preseason. He missed the entire training camp. On the first day of camp, I want to say it was I can't remember the injury. I know it was his leg. I want to say his calf. I can't remember. Like Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow's had a number of injuries. And at this point, you got to call him injury prone. And there's always a chance he's going to get hurt. I mean, there's a chance any quarterback is going to get hurt. But at this point, you're more likely to think that Deshaun Watson or Joe Burrow is going to get hurt than Patrick Mahomes. Because Patrick Mahomes hasn't really missed time with injury where Burrow and Watson have. So Burrow was hurt. I've always said this. I said it with Baker. I say it with Watson. I'll say it with Burrow. You're on the field. You're expected to perform. He did not perform well in that game. He was lousy. The weather was lousy. Yes, he was coming back from injury, but he didn't play well enough. He stunk in that game. He would tell you that. He had a press conference yesterday, and they asked him about his first ever NFL game. He was like, yeah, I sucked in that game. he said I played like shit, actually, which is true. Jay says, go Chiefs. F the Ratbirds. Fair enough. Can't disagree with that. Karen says, hi, Bull. Why do we keep James Hudson? He's not a good tackle. And Pierre Strong, he's not a good running back. Much love to you and your family. Browns forever. With a lot of emojis. Thank you, Karen, as always. I appreciate the comments. Same to you and your family. I think Pierre Strong is a decent player. I disagree with you there. James Hudson stinks. Why they keep him around, I have no idea. I mean, once you get to your 7th, 8th, and 9th offensive lineman, I don't know that you got great options. I don't think he's very good, so I'm with you there. I think Pierre Strong's a perfectly fine third running back. He's a good special teams guy. So I'm going to disagree with you on that one. But, Karen, I'm with you on James Hudson. Let's see. Let's see. What is this? Farrow says, if the Bengals are a real AFC contender, I'm expecting Joe to show he's back. First full TC. I live in Cincinnati. We ready. That's fair. That's fair. Jay, where will Chase play next year? I think the Bengals are going to sign him tonight to an extension. Ricardo, hi, Bull. What are your expectations for the Bengals this year? I mean, my expectations for the Bengals are high. But that's assuming health for Joe Burrow. If he's not healthy, then they won't be good. Or they'll be, okay. The Bengals, top to bottom, are not as talented as the Browns are. But obviously, if you told me both quarterbacks are going to be healthy, I like Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's, to me, is a lot better than Deshaun Watson right now. Now, again, if I get Deshaun Watson from Houston, well, now, if you told me you're getting Deshaun Watson from Houston and the best of Joe Burrow, I'd pick the Browns to win more games because I think the Deshaun Watson in Houston and when we've seen Joe Burrow at his best are about even, maybe even a slight edge for Deshaun Watson. But even if it's even, the rest of the Browns team is better. The problem is I've seen Deshaun Watson here, and he's not played well. Joe Burrow, when he's been healthy, has always played well. So the way I feel about the quarterbacks right now have me with the Bengals a little ahead of the Browns because I think the difference in quarterback makes up for the talent differential. Obviously, the Browns are a good deal better than the Bengals on the defensive side of the ball. The Bengals had a bad season defensively. They were really bad last year. I think bringing Von Bell back helps. I think there are some major concerns about their ability to stop the run, though. That can be their downfall. I think it's the best offensive line, at least on paper, that they've had for Burrow by a lot. Nobody's really high on their backfield, but I like their backfield. Obviously, their wide receivers are very good. I like their tight end room, even though they don't have one stud there. So I think their offense is extremely talented. But there are definitely some questions on defense. The question is, does Joe Burrow play well enough to overcome some of the deficiencies on defense? I guess we'll find out as the season goes along. Let's see. Steven says, it's called a snart. I mentioned earlier when I sneezed and farted. Steven says it's called a snart. I've never used that term, but Ricardo says the same thing, snarted. Mike Masterson says sharted. Now, there was no shart going on. Let's not get too gross, but I was worried about the shart, but there was only a snart. Steven says, or a snit in Bull's case. I don't know if that's an insult. I'm not sure. Karen says, I'm wise and hilarious with the sneeze and fart. You are really real. Thank you. Farrell says, horrible decision to put Joe out there in the preseason. Joe Burrow, I don't agree. Ricardo says, if you could undo the Mayfield-Watson trade, would you pull the trigger? I would not, and it wasn't a Mayfield-Watson trade. It was with two separate trades. So if you ask me, if I'm being totally honest, would I, if I could go back and undo the Watson trade, would I? I'm going to be honest. Right now, I would. But I would still have moved on from Mayfield, and I would have gone a different direction for quarterback. Doesn't matter, though. And hopefully I can look stupid for that when Deshaun Watson plays well this year. We'll see. All right, thanks as always, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Guardians have a big series this weekend with the Dodgers that I'm excited about. I want to see them play against Shohei Ohtani. They did lose to the Royals yesterday, unfortunately, but they still took that series 2 out of 3. Thank you, Ricardo. Thanks, Mike, Jay, Mustafa, Farrow, Ricardo, Karen, the other Jay, Steven, the third Jay, And everybody else who sent messages in the chat. Tony, Rick, Red, Mustafa. Thanks, everybody, for chiming in the chat and being a part of the show today. I'm going to put out a video tomorrow with my picks for this week in the NFL, so be on the lookout for that. And for the first time since the last football season, I'll be on Sunday. I'll be going live right here, right after the game, maybe 5-10 minutes after the Browns and Cowboys ends, so probably somewhere around 7:30, 7:45. I will join you live right here in the bullpen, brought to you by Bet Rivers. Again, that'll be this Sunday after the game. Make sure you join me live. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. Thanks to Z and Max for producing today. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening. I'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody.